I was holding my mother's rosary when my daughter-in-law kissed my husband. The beads were warm against my palm, worn smooth by decades of prayer. Mama gave them to me the day I married Robert, 40 years ago. She said they'd protect me from evil. I squeezed them tighter as Natalie's voice rang through St. Michael's Church. This is for the man who gave me the true gift of motherhood. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to see how far our stories are reaching. Everyone turned to look. I thought she meant Marcus, our son, her husband, the father of the baby we were baptizing that crisp October morning in Cleveland. But Natalie walked right past him. She walked straight to Robert, my husband of 40 years, the man who'd promised to love only me until death parted us. She kissed him, not a polite peck on the cheek, a real kiss, lips on lips, her hand on his chest. His hand, I noticed, touching her waist. Just for a second, but I saw it. The church erupted in applause. I stood there like a statue, the rosary cutting into my palm. Around me, 200 guests clapped and smiled. Marcus was smiling too. My son, my only child. The boy I'd carried for 9 months and raised with every ounce of love I had. He was smiling at his wife kissing his father. Father O'Brien cleared his throat from the baptismal font. Baby Ethan started crying. "Well," Robert said, his voice carrying that smooth charm that had won me over 4 decades ago. "I'm honored, Natalie. But Marcus is the real hero here." More applause, more smiles. Natalie returned to Marcus's side, linking her arm through his. She looked at me then, just a glance. Her eyes were bright, almost glittering, triumphant. I looked down at Ethan in his christening gown, the gown I'd spent 3 weeks hand-embroidering. White silk with tiny crosses stitched in silver thread. My fingers had cramped from the work, but I'd wanted it perfect for my first grandchild. Natalie had barely thanked me. "Oh, how quaint," she'd said when I presented it. "Very vintage." The ceremony continued. I heard Father O'Brien's words as if through water. Baptism, sin, salvation, redemption. All the promises we make about protecting innocent children from the wickedness of the world. I kept thinking about that kiss. The way Robert's hand had moved to Natalie's waist. Natural, familiar, like he'd touched her there before. After the ceremony, guests filed into the church hall for the reception. Natalie had insisted on catering from an expensive restaurant downtown. $12,500 for appetizers and champagne. Marcus had argued about the cost, but she'd won. She always won. I helped arrange the gift table, moving mechanically. My hands knew what to do even when my mind was elsewhere. I'd organized dozens of church events over the years. Weddings, funerals, first communions. I knew how to smile and nod and make small talk even when my heart was breaking. "Vivian, dear, what a beautiful ceremony." Mrs. Henderson from the parish council. She'd known me since Marcus was in diapers. "Thank you, Margaret." And that toast Natalie made. So touching. Robert must be so proud to be such a special godfather. Godfather. Robert had insisted on being Ethan's godfather. I'd found it odd. Usually, godparents were friends, siblings, people outside the immediate family. But Natalie had supported the idea enthusiastically. "He's been such a mentor to me," she'd told the priest during the planning meetings. "Like a second father." I watched Robert now across the hall. He was holding Ethan, showing him off to a group of colleagues from the insurance company where he'd worked for 30 years. Natalie stood close beside him, too close. Her hand rested on Robert's arm as she laughed at something he said. Marcus was nowhere near them. He was at the bar, ordering a drink. My phone buzzed in my purse, a text from an unknown number. "Check your coat pocket." I frowned at the screen. Wrong number, probably. But something made me walk to the coat room anyway. My navy blue jacket hung where I'd left it, on the third hook from the door. I reached into the pocket. An envelope, white, unmarked, definitely not there when I'd arrived this morning. I looked around. The coat room was empty. From the hall, I could hear the party in full swing. Music, laughter, the clink of champagne glasses. I opened the envelope. Photographs, 4 of them. Printed on regular copy paper, slightly grainy like they'd been taken from a distance. The first showed Robert and Natalie at a restaurant, not McDonald's or Applebee's, somewhere expensive with white tablecloths and wine glasses. They were leaning toward each other across the table. His hand covered hers. The second photo showed them leaving a hotel. The Riverside Inn. I knew it. A boutique place by the lake where rooms cost $300 a night. Robert had his hand on the small of Natalie's back. She was laughing, looking up at him. The third photo was taken through a car window. Robert's car. His gray Toyota. Natalie was in the passenger seat. He was kissing her, both hands on her face, her hands in his hair. The fourth photo showed them entering an apartment building. The timestamp read 11:43 p.m. The date was 2 years ago, 6 months before Marcus and Natalie got married. 2 years. I stared at the photos until they blurred. My hands started shaking. The rosary fell from my fingers and clattered against the tile floor. 2 years ago, Natalie had been working as a receptionist at Robert's insurance office. That's how she met Marcus. Robert had introduced them at the company Christmas party. "My son needs a good woman," he'd said. "Natalie here is sharp as a tack." Marcus had fallen hard. 3 months later, he'd proposed. Natalie was pregnant within a month of the wedding. I did the math. Ethan was born 8 months after the wedding. Not premature. Full term. 9 pounds, 6 ounces. Perfectly healthy. Which meant Natalie was already pregnant when she walked down the aisle. I picked up the rosary with trembling fingers. Mama's voice echoed in my memory. "Trust your instincts, Vivian. Women always know when something's wrong. We just don't always want to believe it." From the hall, I heard Robert's laugh. Heard that deep, confident laugh that had made me feel safe for 40 years. I looked at the photos again. At my husband's hands on another woman's body. At the hotel. At the dates. At the lie my entire family was living. I folded the photos carefully and put them back in the envelope. Then I tucked the envelope into my purse, zipped it closed, and walked back to the party. Robert saw me coming. He was still holding Ethan, still standing close to Natalie. "There's my lovely wife," he said, smiling that smile I'd fallen in love with when I was 23. "Come take a picture with your grandson." I walked over. I took my position beside Robert. Natalie handed me Ethan. The baby smelled like powder and milk. Innocent. Perfect. The camera flashed. In that moment, I made a decision. I didn't know who had sent those photos or what they wanted from me, but I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I was going to find out the truth. All of it. No matter how much it hurt, no matter what I had to do, no matter who I had to destroy. I looked at Robert's face as he smiled for another photo. I looked at Natalie, radiant in her designer dress, playing the perfect mother, and I smiled too, because they had no idea what was coming. The Monday after the baptism, I called in sick to the library where I volunteered 3 days a week. I'd never called in sick before. In 5 years, I'd missed exactly 2 shifts, both for funerals. "Take all the time you need," Sharon said on the phone. "You sound terrible." I did sound terrible. I hadn't slept since Saturday night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that kiss. Natalie's hand on Robert's chest, his hand on her waist, the way everyone had clapped. Robert left for work at 7:30, same as always. He kissed my forehead on his way out. "You feeling okay? You look tired. Didn't sleep well. Maybe see the doctor. You're not getting any younger, Viv." He said it kindly, but I heard the dismissal underneath. "You're not getting any younger." At 63, I was already being categorized as old, forgettable, ignorable. I waited until his car disappeared down the street. Then I went to his home office. We'd lived in this house for 32 years. A modest colonial in Lakewood, 3 bedrooms, detached garage, small backyard where I'd grown tomatoes every summer since Marcus was 5. The house was paid off. Robert had handled all the finances. "You focus on the home, I'll focus on the money," he'd always said. And I had. Trusted him completely. His office was on the 2nd floor, overlooking the street. Neat desk, filing cabinets, bookshelf full of insurance manuals and mystery novels. Nothing looked suspicious, but I'd learned that appearances meant nothing. I started with the desk drawers. insurance papers, client files, old birthday cards from Marcus, a Father's Day card from 2 years ago that said "to the best dad" in Marcus's handwriting. The bottom drawer was locked. I stood there looking at it for a long moment. Robert kept the key on his main key ring. He never left it behind, but I knew where he kept the spare keys. We'd lived together for 40 years. You learn these things. The spare keys were in a metal box in the basement, hidden behind the paint cans. I found the small silver key third from the left. The drawer opened smoothly. Inside were receipts, hundreds of them, stacked in neat bundles, organized by date with rubber bands. The Riverside Inn, $320 per night. 12 different dates over the past 2 years. Giovanni's Restaurant, $156. Dinner for 2, wine included. Tiffany & Cumber, $2,400. One item purchased. Date, 14 months ago. I pulled out my phone and checked my jewelry box through my memory. Robert had given me a necklace for our 39th anniversary. Silver. Simple. Maybe $200 at most. Times are tight, he'd said. Hope you understand. I'd understood. Or thought I had. I photographed every receipt. My hands were steady now. The shaking had stopped sometime around the 4th hotel charge. Shock has a way of crystallizing into something harder, something cold and calculating. There were credit card statements, too. A card I didn't know existed. Opened 3 years ago in Robert's name only. The bills went to his office address. Charges for lingerie stores, perfume counters, a weekend trip to Niagara Falls. We hadn't taken a vacation in 4 years. Money's tight, Robert always said. The money wasn't tight. It was being spent. Just not on me. I kept digging. Under the receipts was a small leather notebook, the kind Robert used for client notes. I opened it. Dates, times, brief entries written in his neat handwriting. N. Lunch at Giovanni's. Wore the blue dress I like. N. Overnight at Riverside. Perfect as always. N. Called 3 times. Had to ignore. V was in the next room. V. Me. Vivian. The wife he had to ignore because his mistress was calling. I turned the pages. Months of entries. The last one was dated 3 weeks ago. N worried about the pregnancy timeline. Assured her everything is fine. M suspects nothing. Baby due in 6 weeks. Need to be more careful after the birth. The notebook fell from my hands. I sat down hard in Robert's leather chair. The chair he sat in every evening while I made dinner. While I folded his laundry. While I lived my small, stupid, faithful life. Natalie was worried about the pregnancy timeline. Marcus suspects nothing. I picked up my phone and opened the calculator. Ethan was born 8 months after the wedding, full term. Which meant Natalie got pregnant before the wedding. Before the engagement, probably. I pulled up the photos on my phone. The ones from the envelope. The third photo, the one in Robert's car, was dated 2 years and 3 months ago. I counted forward. 9 months from that date landed exactly 2 weeks before Marcus proposed to Natalie. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Mrs. Chen was walking her dog. The mailman was delivering packages. Normal Monday morning in a normal Cleveland suburb. Except nothing was normal. Nothing had been normal for years. My phone rang. Marcus. Hey, Mom. Just wanted to say thanks again for the christening gown. Ethan looked perfect in it. You're welcome, honey. Listen, Natalie and I were thinking about Thanksgiving. We'd like to host this year at our place. Would you and Dad come? Our place. The condo Robert had helped them buy. Down payment of $50,000. Gift from Dad, Marcus had told me proudly. He said he wanted to help us get started. $50,000. While I clipped coupons and bought generic brands and wore the same winter coat for 7 years. Mom? You there? I'm here. Thanksgiving sounds fine. Great. Natalie's really excited. She wants to make it special. First holiday with the baby and all. Natalie's really excited. Of course she was. She'd won. She'd seduced my husband, gotten pregnant with his child, and trapped my son into raising it. And now we were all going to sit around her table and pretend to be a normal, happy family. Marcus, can I ask you something? Sure, Mom. When did your father introduce you to Natalie? At the Christmas party 3 years ago. Why? Just curious. She ever mentioned knowing him before that? Silence on the line. Then, that's a weird question, Mom. I'm just trying to remember the timeline. The timeline is Dad introduced us. I fell in love. We got married. Pretty simple. His voice had an edge now, defensive. Why are you asking? No reason, just being sentimental. Okay. Well, I gotta go. Ethan's crying. Love you. He hung up before I could answer. I stood in Robert's office holding the phone and the leather notebook and the stack of receipts that proved my husband had been sleeping with our daughter-in-law for years. The front door opened downstairs. Viv? I'm home. Forgot my phone. Robert's voice, coming up the stairs. I had maybe 10 seconds. I shoved everything back in the drawer and locked it. Pocketed the key. Stood up and smoothed my shirt. My heart was hammering so hard I thought he'd hear it. He appeared in the doorway. What are you doing in here? Looking for stamps. Thought you might have some. He studied me for a long moment. His eyes, the same warm brown that had made me trust him for 4 decades, were suddenly unreadable. Stamps are in the kitchen drawer, where they've always been. Of course. Silly me. He crossed the room and picked up his phone from the desk. His fingers brushed the drawer handle. For a second, I thought he'd check it, but he didn't. You sure you're okay? You look pale. Just tired. Like you said, I'm not getting any younger. He smiled, kissed my forehead again. Get some rest. I'll be home by 6. I listened to his footsteps on the stairs, the front door closing, his car starting, driving away. Then I went to the bathroom and vomited. When I was done, I rinsed my mouth and looked at myself in the mirror. The woman looking back was 63 years old. Gray hair I'd stopped coloring because money was tight. Lines around her eyes from 40 years of smiling at a man who'd been lying to her. I thought about Natalie. Young, beautiful, confident. Everything I wasn't anymore. I thought about Robert, my husband, my partner, the man who'd vowed to forsake all others. I thought about Marcus, my son, raising a baby that might not be his. And I thought about those photos, the anonymous envelope. Someone knew. Someone wanted me to know. My phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. Did you find what you needed? I stared at the message. Then I typed back. Who are you? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Someone who's been watching. Someone who thinks you deserve the truth. What truth? DNA doesn't lie, but families do. Check Ethan's birth certificate. Look at the time. My hands started shaking again. I sat down on the edge of the bathtub. What about the time? Natalie went into labor at 4 a.m. Robert got to the hospital at 4:30. Marcus didn't arrive until 6. Robert was in the delivery room when Ethan was born. Not Marcus. Ask yourself why. I closed my eyes. Remembered that morning 8 weeks ago. Robert's phone ringing before dawn. Him jumping out of bed. Emergency at work, he'd said. I'll call you later. He'd called at 9 a.m. Marcus just texted. Natalie had the baby. Boy, everyone's healthy. Everyone's healthy. He'd already known, because he'd already been there. The phone buzzed again. You have 2 choices, Vivian. Keep pretending, or find out how deep this goes. If you want the full truth, meet me at Holy Cross Cemetery tomorrow. Noon. Your mother's grave. The message ended. No signature. No explanation. I sat in my bathroom, in the house I'd lived in for 32 years, and realized I'd been living with strangers. My husband was a liar. My daughter-in-law was a monster, and my son was raising a child who might be his half-brother. Tomorrow I would go to the cemetery. I would meet whoever was sending these messages, and I would find out the truth. All of it. No matter what it cost me. Holy Cross Cemetery looked different in November. The trees were bare, skeletal against the gray sky. I stood at my mother's grave holding a bouquet of white chrysanthemums. She'd been dead for 12 years, but I visited every month. Sometimes twice. The headstone read, Eleanor Marie Patterson, beloved mother, 1932-2013. Her faith never wavered. I wished I had her faith now. Mama had believed in the goodness of people, in the sanctity of marriage, in the power of prayer to fix anything. But prayer couldn't fix this. It was 11:55 a.m. I'd been standing here for 20 minutes, watching the entrance. A few other visitors dotted the cemetery. An elderly man placing flowers. A young woman crying at a fresh grave. Normal people with normal grief. My phone buzzed. Turn around. I spun. A woman stood 10 feet behind me. Mid-40s maybe. Dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. Expensive coat. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. Who are you? My name is Diana. Diana Mercado. I used to work at your husband's office. I searched my memory. Robert's company held a summer picnic every year. Families invited. I'd gone to maybe half of them over the decades. Diana. Yes, I remembered her now. She'd been there 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Pretty woman, always professional. Why are you sending me these photos? Diana stepped closer. Her expression was careful, almost sympathetic. Because I know what it's like to be betrayed by someone you trust. And because what they're doing to you, to Marcus, it's wrong. You know Marcus? I know everything, Vivian. I was Robert's assistant for 6 years. I saw things, heard things. I kept my mouth shut because I needed the job. But when Natalie got pregnant, when I realized what they were doing, I couldn't stay quiet anymore. My legs felt weak. Tell me. Diana reached into her purse and pulled out a folder. I made copies before I quit. Thought someone should have the truth. She handed me the folder. Inside were more photos, more receipts, and something else. Medical records. Natalie went to a fertility specialist 18 months before she married Marcus. She was having trouble getting pregnant. Robert went with her to the appointments. I stared at the appointment records. Robert Celeste listed as partner on the intake form. Insurance billed to his secret credit card. They tried for 8 months, Diana continued. She finally got pregnant 3 weeks before Marcus proposed. Robert told her to accept the proposal quickly, lock it in before she started showing. Why are you telling me this now? Why not 2 years ago? Diana's face hardened. Because 2 years ago I thought it was just an affair. Messy, but not my business. Then Natalie got pregnant. Then she married Marcus. And I realized they'd planned the whole thing. They were going to let your son raise Robert's baby and never tell him the truth. The wind picked up, scattering dead leaves across the graves. I felt cold in a way that had nothing to do with the weather. There's more, Diana said quietly. The jewelry Robert bought at Tiffany's? It was an engagement ring. He proposed to Natalie, told her when you died he'd marry her. That's what she thought was happening. She was going to be the second Mrs. Celeste, but she married Marcus. Robert changed his mind, got cold feet, I guess, realized divorce would cost him too much. So he convinced Natalie to marry Marcus instead. Told her it was better this way. They could still be together, but without the financial hit of a divorce, and Marcus would raise the baby. So Robert wouldn't have to deal with late-night feedings and college tuition. I thought I might vomit again. Marcus doesn't know. Marcus has no idea. And Natalie, she went along with it because she loves Robert, or thinks she does. And because your son is stable. Good job, good benefits, completely devoted to her. She gets the money and security from Marcus and the romance from Robert. That's evil. Yes, Diana said simply. It is. I looked down at the medical records. At my husband's name printed in black and white next to Natalie's. At the dates. At the bills he'd paid while telling me we couldn't afford a vacation. Why give this to me? What do you want? I don't want anything. I quit the company 3 months ago. I work somewhere else now. I couldn't live with knowing and not telling. You deserve to know what kind of man you're married to. She turned to leave, then stopped. One more thing. Ethan's birth certificate lists Marcus as the father. But the hospital has the real records. The paternity test they do automatically for insurance purposes. I have a friend in medical records. She pulled the file for me. Diana reached into her purse again and handed me a sealed envelope. DNA results. Legal and official. Robert Celeste is Ethan's biological father. 9% match. My hand closed around the envelope. The paper felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. What are you going to do? Diana asked. I don't know yet. She nodded. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. You seem like a good person. You don't deserve this." She walked away, her footsteps crunching on the gravel path. I watched her disappear through the cemetery gates. Then I was alone again with my mother's grave, and the truth that was destroying my life. I drove home in a daze. The folder sat on the passenger seat. I kept glancing at it like it might disappear, like this might all be a nightmare I'd wake up from. Robert's car was in the driveway when I arrived. He wasn't supposed to be home until 6. I grabbed the folder and walked inside. He was in the kitchen making coffee. He smiled when he saw me. "There you are. I called the library. Sharon said you took the day off. Everything okay?" "Fine. Just needed some time to myself. You were gone for hours. Where'd you go?" "Cemetery. Visited my mother." Something flickered in his eyes. Just for a second. Then it was gone. "That's nice. You want some coffee?" "Robert, we need to talk." "Sure, what's up?" He poured 2 cups, handed me one. His hands were steady. His face was calm. He'd been lying to me for years. He was good at it. I set down the coffee. "I want you to tell me the truth about Natalie." The color drained from his face. "What?" "I know. About the affair. About the hotels. About the fertility clinic. About Ethan." He stared at me. I watched the calculations happening behind his eyes. Deny everything? Admit some of it? Play the victim? "Vivian, I don't know what you think you know, but I have proof. Medical records, DNA results, receipts, photos, everything." His jaw clenched. "Who told you? Does it matter?" "Yes, it matters. Someone's lying to you, trying to cause trouble in our marriage." I almost laughed. "Trouble in our marriage? You slept with our daughter-in-law for 2 years. You got her pregnant. Our grandson is your son. And you let Marcus raise him without knowing the truth. That's not trouble, Robert. That's betrayal. It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is. Explain it to me." He ran his hand through his hair. For the first time in 40 years, he looked old, tired, caught. "It started as a mistake. One night, office party, too much to drink. The fertility clinic wasn't a mistake. The hotels weren't mistakes. That ring you bought her wasn't a mistake." His eyes widened. "You know about the ring?" "I know about everything." We stood in our kitchen, the kitchen where I'd made 40 years of meals, and stared at each other like strangers. "I never meant to hurt you," he said finally. "But you did. You are. Every single day. Natalie and I, it just happened. She understood me in ways you don't anymore. That hurt worse than anything, the casual cruelty of it. I don't understand you? You're stuck, Viv. You've been the same person for 40 years. Same routines, same clothes, same conversations. Natalie is young, exciting. She makes me feel alive. So you destroyed our family because I bore you?" "I didn't destroy anything. Marcus is happy. The baby's healthy. You're the only one making this into a problem." I stared at him. At this man I'd loved since I was 23. At the father of my child. At the person I'd trusted with my entire life. "Get out. Vivian, be reasonable. Get out of this house. Now. This is my house too. Then I'll leave. But I'm taking this folder. And tomorrow I'm calling a lawyer. And then I'm telling Marcus the truth." Robert's face went white. "You can't tell Marcus. It'll kill him." "No, you killed him. I'm just making sure he knows he's dead." I grabbed my purse and the folder and walked out. I got in my car and drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just drove. My phone rang. Marcus. I answered. "Hi, honey." "Mom, Dad just called. He's upset. He said you accused him of cheating and you're trying to destroy the family." "What's going on?" My heart cracked. "Marcus, I need to talk to you. In person. It's important. Are you losing it? Because honestly, you've been acting weird since the baptism, asking strange questions, being cold to Natalie. Marcus, please listen. No, you listen. I don't know what's gotten into you, but you need to stop. Dad loves you. Natalie's been nothing but kind to you. And you're repaying them by making up crazy accusations? I'm not making anything up. I have proof. Proof of what? That Dad works late sometimes? That he's nice to his daughter-in-law? Jesus, Mom, you sound paranoid. Marcus, I gotta go. Ethan's crying. Maybe you should talk to someone, like a therapist, because this isn't normal. He hung up. I sat in my car in a grocery store parking lot and cried until I couldn't breathe. My son didn't believe me. My husband had chosen his mistress. My family was a lie. My phone buzzed. A text from Natalie. Vivian, Marcus told me about your accusations. I'm sorry you're going through whatever this is, but spreading lies about Robert and me is hurtful and unfair. I think it's best if you don't come to Thanksgiving. You need time to work through your issues. Maybe when you're feeling better, we can talk. She was banning me from Thanksgiving, from seeing my grandson, from my own family, and they all believed her over me. I was 63 years old, sitting alone in a parking lot, holding proof that my entire life was a lie, and nobody would listen. I'd never felt more invisible in my life. I checked into a Holiday Inn off I-90, room 237. $89 a night charged to my own credit card. The first money I'd spent on myself in months that wasn't groceries or gas. The room smelled like industrial cleaner and old carpet. I sat on the bed and spread out Diana's folder. Medical records, photos, receipts, DNA results. Everything I needed to prove the truth. Everything Marcus had refused to believe. I called my bank. The account I'd opened 30 years ago when Marcus was born. My secret account. Robert didn't know about it. Every month, I'd deposited $50 from my library paycheck. Sometimes $100 if I had extra from selling baked goods at church fundraisers. Current balance is $47,932. The automated voice said. $47,000. My escape fund. The money I'd saved in case I ever needed to leave. I'd never imagined I'd actually use it. I made a list on the hotel notepad. Lawyer, private investigator, document, everything. Protect Marcus. Protecting Marcus meant proving the truth in a way he couldn't deny. Medical records might not be enough. He'd say they were faked. DNA results from Diana's friend might not hold up legally. I needed something ironclad. I opened my laptop and searched for private investigators in Cleveland. Dozens of options. I picked one with good reviews and a female owner. Catherine Walsh Investigations. Discreet, professional, thorough. I called the number. A woman answered on the second ring. Walsh Investigations. My name is Vivian Celeste. I need help proving my husband is having an affair with our daughter-in-law, and that our grandson is actually his son. Silence. Then, can you come to my office tomorrow morning? 8 a.m.? I'll be there. I hung up and opened a new browser tab. Divorce lawyers. I needed someone aggressive. Someone who wouldn't let Robert charm his way out of this. Jennifer Park, family law specialist. Her website showed a woman in her 50s, sharp suit, sharper eyes, protecting women's rights in divorce for 25 years. I sent an email requesting a consultation. Then I lay back on the hotel bed and stared at the ceiling. My phone rang. Robert. I didn't answer. He called 3 more times. Then came the texts. Viv, please come home. We can work this out. You're overreacting. Let me explain. Marcus is worried about you. Don't do this to our family. Our family. The family built on lies. The family where my husband fathered a child with my son's wife, and everyone expected me to stay quiet about it. I turned off my phone. The next morning, I was at Catherine Walsh's office at 7:55 a.m. The office was in a small building in Cleveland Heights. 2nd floor. Simple sign on the door. Catherine was younger than I expected. Maybe 40. Short brown hair. No-nonsense handshake. Tell me everything, she said. I did. The baptism, the kiss, the photos, Diana, the medical records, the confrontation, Marcus's disbelief. I laid out every document on her desk. Catherine studied them carefully. She made notes on a legal pad. When I finished, she looked up. You have good evidence, but you need better. If you want to prove this in court, if you want to protect your son, you need DNA that will hold up legally, not just something from a friend in medical records. How do I get that? We need samples from Robert and from the baby. Then we send them to a certified lab, court-admissible results. But getting the samples legally is tricky. Tell me how. Catherine leaned back in her chair. Hair with root attached, toothbrush, anything with saliva. We can get Robert's easily enough. But the baby? That's harder. You don't have access anymore. I thought about Thanksgiving, about being banned from my grandson, about Natalie's smug text message. What if I get invited back? How would you do that? I apologize. I tell them I was wrong. I was stressed and paranoid. I beg forgiveness. They'll believe it. They want to believe it. Catherine studied me. You can do that? Fake apologizing to people who betrayed you? I've been faking things for 40 years. I can fake a little longer. She smiled. Not a nice smile. A predator's smile. Okay, here's what we do. She outlined the plan. I would apologize to Robert and Marcus, play the confused, stressed-out wife and mother, blame it on menopause or anxiety, whatever they wanted to hear, get invited back into the family. Then, at the next visit, I'd collect DNA samples from both Robert and Ethan. Once we have court-admissible DNA proof, we move fast, Catherine said. File for divorce. Demand full financial disclosure. Make sure Marcus sees the results before Robert can spin it. Your husband will try to manipulate the situation. We can't let him. How much will this cost? My retainer is $5,000. The DNA testing is another $800. If this goes to court, you're looking at $20,000 minimum, maybe more if he fights. I thought about my $47,030, my escape fund, my freedom money. Do it. I wrote her a check for $5,000. She gave me a receipt and a contract. We shook hands. One more thing, Catherine said. Document everything from now on. Every conversation, every text, every interaction. Save it all. If Robert realizes what you're doing, he'll try to destroy evidence. We need backup of everything. I left her office feeling something I hadn't felt in days. Power, control, purpose. My next stop was Jennifer Park's office. Consultation at 11 a.m. Her office was downtown, 10th floor, glass walls, expensive furniture. Jennifer was exactly like her website photo. Sharp, professional, no sympathy, but no judgment either. Ohio is an equitable distribution state, she explained. That means marital assets get divided fairly, not necessarily 50-50. Given your husband's infidelity and the length of your marriage, you're looking at 60 to 70% of everything. How long will it take? If he cooperates, 6 months. If he fights, a year or more. But with the evidence you're gathering, I don't think he'll fight hard. Men like your husband, they don't want public exposure. They want this quiet. I don't want it quiet. Jennifer looked up from her notes. Explain. I want Marcus to know the truth. I want it documented legally. I want Robert to face consequences, not just financially, socially. I want everyone who clapped at that baptism to know what kind of man he is. That's not revenge talking, is it? No, that's protecting my son. If I stay quiet, if I just divorce Robert and disappear, Natalie and Robert win. They keep lying to Marcus. They keep using him. I can't let that happen. Jennifer nodded slowly. Okay, but understand, if you go public with this, it's going to hurt Marcus too. People will talk, judge. His whole world is going to explode. His world is already a lie. Better it explodes now than 20 years from now. All right, let's talk strategy. We spent an hour planning. Jennifer would file for divorce once I had the DNA results. She'd demand full financial disclosure, including Robert's secret credit card. She'd subpoena his company's records. She'd make sure every dollar he'd spent on Natalie was documented and counted in the settlement. And the baby? I asked. What happens with Ethan? That's complicated. Marcus is listed as the legal father. Changing that requires a paternity challenge. Marcus would have to file it himself. You can't do it for him. But once he sees the DNA results, he can decide what to do. He might want to stay Ethan's legal father anyway. Some men do, even after finding out. The child is innocent in all this. I thought about Ethan. Sweet baby Ethan in his christening gown. He didn't ask to be born into this mess. I don't want to hurt him. I know, but there's no version of this where someone doesn't get hurt. You just have to decide who you're willing to sacrifice. And it sounds like you've already decided it won't be Marcus. I left Jennifer's office at 12:30. My retainer to her was another $5,000. I was $10,000 poorer and infinitely stronger. I sat in my car and composed a text to Robert. I'm sorry for how I acted. I was stressed and confused. Can we talk? I want to come home. I sent it before I could change my mind. His response came in 30 seconds. Thank God. Yes, come home. I love you. I love you. 3 words he'd said 1,000 times. 3 words that used to mean everything. Now they meant nothing. I sent another text. To Marcus. Honey, I'm so sorry. I don't know what came over me. I was wrong to accuse Dad and Natalie. Can you forgive me? I miss you and Ethan so much. Marcus took longer to respond. 5 minutes. Then, Mom, are you okay? You really scared me. I'm okay now. I think I was just overwhelmed. Can I come to Thanksgiving? I promise I'll behave. Let me talk to Natalie. An hour later, he texted back. Natalie says yes. But Mom, no more accusations. No drama. Just be normal. Be normal. Pretend my husband wasn't sleeping with his wife. Pretend my grandson wasn't my husband's son. Pretend everything was fine. I promise. Thank you, honey. I love you. Love you too. I drove back to the Holiday Inn, room 237. I had 2 weeks until Thanksgiving. 2 weeks to perfect my performance. 2 weeks to prepare for the moment when I'd betray my betrayers. I opened my laptop and created a new folder. Evidence. I uploaded photos of every document Diana had given me. I scanned Robert's receipts from his locked drawer. I saved every text message. Catherine was right. Document everything. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Not Diana this time. I know what you're planning. Be careful. Robert is dangerous when cornered. He won't let you destroy him without a fight. My blood went cold. Who is this? Someone who's seen what he's capable of. Watch your back. The number disconnected. When I tried to call back, it said the number was no longer in service. I sat on the hotel bed, staring at my phone. Robert is dangerous when cornered. I thought about 40 years of marriage. Robert had never been violent, never raised his hand. But I'd also never challenged him before, never threatened his comfortable life. I didn't know what he was capable of, but I was about to find out. I called Catherine. I got a threatening message, anonymous. Save it, screenshot everything. And Vivian, maybe get a security camera for your car, just in case. You think he'd hurt me? I think men who build elaborate lies for years will do anything to protect those lies. Better safe than sorry. I bought a dash cam at Best Buy that afternoon. Installed it myself in the parking lot. Front and rear cameras. Motion activated. Then I drove home. Robert's car was in the driveway. I sat in my car for a long moment, watching the house. Our house. 32 years of memories. Most of them lies. I grabbed my purse and walked inside. Robert was in the living room. He stood when he saw me. His eyes were red. He looked like he'd been crying. Viv, thank God you're home. He moved to hug me. I let him. His arms felt like a prison. I'm sorry, I whispered into his chest. I'm sorry too. I should have been more understanding. You've been stressed. Stressed. That's what we were calling it. Not betrayed. Not destroyed, just stressed. Can we just forget about all this? He asked. Go back to normal? I pulled back and looked at his face. The face I'd loved for 40 years. The face that had lied to me for at least 3. Yes, I said. Let's go back to normal. He smiled, relieved, grateful, completely unaware that normal was over. That night, while Robert slept beside me, I lay awake planning. 2 weeks until Thanksgiving. 2 weeks to collect the evidence that would end my marriage and save my son. 2 weeks until the truth destroyed everything. I was ready. Thanksgiving morning started with the smell of lies and cinnamon rolls. I was baking at 6 a.m. Robert's favorite. Cream cheese frosting, just the way he liked it. I'd been the perfect wife for 2 weeks. Smiling, agreeable, everything he wanted me to be. He came downstairs in his robe, kissed my cheek. Smells amazing. You're really going all out. It's Ethan's first Thanksgiving. I want it to be special. Special. That was the word I'd been using. Special grandson, special family, special day. In my purse, hidden in the lining, were 2 plastic bags. One contained Robert's toothbrush from this morning. The other would hold Ethan's pacifier. Both would go to the lab tomorrow. Both would prove that my husband had fathered my grandson. We arrived at Marcus and Natalie's condo at noon. The place smelled like turkey and expensive candles. Natalie opened the door wearing a designer apron over a cashmere dress. She looked like a Thanksgiving magazine spread. Vivian, so glad you could make it. Her smile was perfect. Her hug was cold. "Thank you for having me. I brought rolls." Marcus appeared behind her, holding Ethan. My grandson, my husband's son, 8 weeks old. He had Robert's nose, Robert's eyes. How had I never seen it before? "Hey, Mom, come in." I hugged Marcus carefully. He felt stiff, still wary, still not quite trusting me after my breakdown. Robert clapped Marcus on the shoulder. "Beautiful place, son. That new furniture? Natalie picked it out. Early Christmas present to ourselves. Early Christmas present. Paid for with what? Robert's money? Marcus's salary? Both?" I smiled and nodded and played my role. Dinner was at 3. The table was set for 4. White china, crystal glasses, fresh flowers. Natalie had spared no expense. Everything was perfect. Everything was poison. We sat. Robert said grace. He thanked God for family, for blessings, for love. I watched Natalie watch Robert, the way her eyes lingered, the way she smiled at his words. She was still in love with him, after everything, after marrying his son. After lying for years, she loved him. My phone buzzed in my pocket. "Catherine. Lab confirmed. Can process samples Monday. Results in 48 hours. I excused myself to the bathroom. Ethan's pacifier was on the changing table, pink and white, covered in drool. I wiped it with a tissue, put it in the plastic bag, sealed it, hid it in my purse. When I returned, Robert was telling a story about his college days. Making everyone laugh. He was good at that. Making people love him. Making them trust him. "Remember when we met, Viv?" he said, taking my hand. "You thought I was too charming. Said I was probably a con man." Everyone laughed, including me. I should have trusted my instincts. The laugh died. Natalie's smile froze. Marcus looked confused. "What do you mean?" Robert asked carefully. I squeezed his hand. Hard. "I mean, I'm glad I didn't trust my instincts, because then I wouldn't have 40 years with you." The tension broke. More laughter. But Natalie was watching me now. Really watching. After dinner, Marcus suggested we take a family photo. Ethan's first Thanksgiving. We should document it. We gathered in the living room. Robert held Ethan. Natalie stood next to him. Marcus set up the camera timer and rushed to join us. I stood on the end. Always on the end. The camera flashed 5 times, capturing the perfect family, the perfect lie. "Let me get one of just the grandparents with Ethan," Marcus said. Robert and I posed with the baby between us. Robert's hand touched mine over Ethan's small body. Our hands. Our grandson. Our son. The camera captured it. The last photo of our marriage. "Beautiful," Marcus said, reviewing the shots. "I'll text these to everyone. Including Father O'Brien, probably. Including all the people who'd clapped at the baptism. Including everyone who thought we were a normal, happy family." At 5 o'clock, my phone rang. "Catherine, sorry to bother you on Thanksgiving, but I have news. Can you talk?" "One moment." I stepped onto the balcony. Cold November air. Gray sky. "What is it?" The lab rushed the samples as a favor. "Preliminary results are in. I wanted you to hear it first." My heart stopped. "And?" "Robert Celeste is the biological father of Ethan Celeste. 97% certainty. The report is official and court-admissible." I closed my eyes. Even though I'd known. Even though I'd seen the evidence. Hearing it confirmed still felt like a knife. "Thank you, Catherine." "What do you want to do? We can wait until next week to move forward or—" "No, I'm telling Marcus today. Right now." "Vivian, are you sure? This is explosive. Maybe wait until—" "I'm not waiting anymore." I hung up and stood on the balcony for a long moment. Below me, people walked their dogs. Normal people, normal lives, normal Thanksgivings. Mine was about to end. I walked back inside. Robert, Marcus, and Natalie were in the living room. Ethan was asleep in his bassinet. They were drinking wine and laughing about something. "Marcus, I need to talk to you, privately." "Mom, can it wait? We're having a nice time." "No, it can't wait." Robert stood. "Viv, what's going on?" "Sit down, Robert." Something in my voice made him obey. Natalie set down her wine glass. Marcus looked between us, confused. "Mom, you're scaring me." I pulled out my phone and opened the photos. The ones Diana had given me. The hotel, the restaurant, the car. I handed the phone to Marcus. "What is this?" he asked, scrolling. "That's your father and Natalie. 2 years ago." The color drained from his face. "What?" "They've been having an affair for 3 years. Natalie was pregnant before you proposed. Ethan isn't your son, Marcus. He's Robert's." The wine glass fell from Natalie's hand. It shattered on the hardwood floor. Red wine spread like blood. "That's insane," Robert said, standing. "Vivian, you're having another episode. We talked about this. Sit down and shut up." I'd never spoken to him like that in 40 years. He sat. I looked at Marcus, my son, my boy. His face was white. His hands were shaking. "I had DNA testing done. Official results, court-admissible. Robert is Ethan's biological father." "You're lying," Natalie whispered. "You're making this up because you're jealous." I pulled the DNA report from my purse, the one Catherine had emailed. I'd printed it at a FedEx store that morning. Official letterhead, lab certification, numbers that didn't lie. I handed it to Marcus. He read it. Once, twice, 3 times. Like if he read it enough times, the words would change. "Marcus," Robert started. "Let me explain." "Don't." Marcus's voice was dead, flat, empty. "Don't say my name. Don't talk to me. Son, please. I'm not your son. I'm your dupe. The idiot you used to cover up your affair. The fool raising his own brother." Natalie was crying now, mascara running down her face. "Marcus, I love you. This wasn't supposed to happen like this." "How was it supposed to happen? Were you planning to tell me? Ever? We were going to, eventually You just what? Decided to let me raise Dad's kid for the rest of my life? Let me pay for everything while you two kept screwing behind my back?" "It's not like that," Robert said, standing again. "Natalie and I, we care about each other. But I care about you too. You're my son." "No." Marcus's voice cracked. "A father doesn't do this to his son. A father doesn't sleep with his son's wife. A father doesn't let his son raise his bastard and pretend everything's fine." Ethan started crying. The sound cut through the room like a siren. Natalie moved toward the bassinet. Marcus blocked her. "Don't touch him. He's my son. He's my brother." Apparently. Marcus laughed. A horrible sound. "My brother. Jesus Christ." "Marcus, please," I said softly. "Sit down. Let's talk about this." "Talk about what, Mom? How Dad destroyed our family? How my wife is a liar? How my son isn't my son?" He was shaking. "You knew. How long have you known?" 2 weeks. I got the proof 2 weeks ago. I wanted to be sure before I told you." 2 weeks. You've known for 2 weeks and you let me keep living this lie. I was trying to protect you. I was trying to get evidence that you couldn't deny. Because I knew Dad would lie. I knew Natalie would lie. I needed proof you couldn't ignore." Marcus looked at the DNA report again, then at Robert, then at Natalie. "Get out." "Marcus!" Natalie reached for him. "Get out of my house. Both of you. Now." "This is my house too," Natalie said. "My name is on the lease. I don't care. Get out or I'm calling the police." Robert held up his hands. "Son, let's all calm down. We can work through this." "Work through this?" Marcus's voice rose. "You slept with my wife. You got her pregnant. You let me name him. Let me get up every night. Let me change diapers and do feedings. You let me fall in love with a baby that's yours, not mine. And you think we can work through this? People make mistakes." "Mistakes? You made a choice. Every day for 3 years you made the choice to betray me." "That's not a mistake, Dad. That's evil." Robert flinched like he'd been slapped. Ethan was crying harder now. Natalie picked him up, rocking him. "Marcus, please. Think about the baby. He needs stability. The baby needs a mother who's not a liar, and a father." He stopped, looked at Robert. "He has a father. It's just not me." "You're listed as the legal father," I said quietly. "You have rights, Marcus. You can decide what you want to do. Keep being his father or what? Give him to Dad? Let them just take him and play happy family while I what? Watch? Send Christmas cards?" "Or I take him," Robert said. "I'll raise him. Take responsibility. Divorce your mother. Marry Natalie. Make this right." The room went silent. Marcus stared at his father. You'd do that? You'd leave Mom and marry Natalie? If that's what it takes to make this right, yes. I almost laughed. Almost. How noble, Robert. Marry the woman you've been sleeping with for 3 years. Very honorable. I'm trying to fix this, Vivian. You can't fix this. You broke it beyond repair. You broke Marcus. You broke this family. And you broke me. Robert's eyes met mine. For the first time, I saw something like remorse there. Real regret. Viv, I'm sorry. I never meant… Don't. Just don't. Natalie was still holding Ethan, rocking him. The baby had calmed down. He looked up at her with Robert's eyes. Marcus watched them. His face was gray, exhausted, destroyed. I need you all to leave. Now. I need to think. Marcus, I started. You too, Mom. Please, I need to be alone. I gathered my purse, my coat, the container of cinnamon rolls that nobody had eaten. Robert stood in the doorway. Marcus, I know you're angry, but that baby loves you. He knows your voice, your face. You're his father in every way that matters. Accept biology, Marcus said flatly. Accept truth. Accept the fact that every time I look at him now, I'll see you. We left. All 3 of us. Robert and I in one car, Natalie in another, holding Ethan. Mascara still streaked down her face. We didn't speak on the drive home. Robert tried twice. I held up my hand both times. Silence. At the house, I went straight to the bedroom and started packing. Robert stood in the doorway. Where are you going? Hotel. Then Catherine's office tomorrow to file divorce papers. Vivian, please. Let's talk about this. We're done talking. We're done with everything. I love you. I stopped packing and looked at him. Really looked at him. No, you don't. You love yourself. You love the easy life where you had everything. The wife at home. The mistress on the side. The son who asked no questions. You love that. You never loved me. That's not true. Yes, Robert, it is. I zipped my suitcase and walked past him. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. Marcus. Mom, come back. I need you. I drove back to the condo. Marcus opened the door. His eyes were red. I don't know what to do. I held my son while he cried. 40 years ago, I'd held him as a baby. Now I held him as a broken man. We'll figure it out, I whispered. Together, I promise. Outside, it started to snow. The first snow of the season, covering everything in white, clean, pure. But underneath, everything was still broken. 6 months later, I stood in my new apartment signing the final divorce papers. Jennifer Park watched me initial each page. This is one of the most favorable settlements I've negotiated in 20 years. You're getting 72% of the marital assets, the house, the retirement accounts, spousal support of $3,800 monthly for life. I signed my name. Vivian Marie Celeste. Soon to be Vivian Marie Patterson again. My maiden name. The name I'd had before I gave 40 years to a lie. Robert didn't fight it, I said. No, he wanted this quiet. Men like him always do. The apartment was small. 2 bedrooms in Cleveland Heights, hardwood floors, big windows. I'd bought it outright with my settlement money. No mortgage, no ties to Robert, clean break. I'd kept Mama's rosary. The wedding china went to charity. I didn't want anything that reminded me of dinners where I'd smiled at my husband while he planned his next hotel visit with our daughter-in-law. Marcus called every Sunday, sometimes twice a week. He was in therapy. Court-ordered after he'd punched Robert at the lawyer's office in January. Broke his nose. Jennifer said it actually helped our case, showed the depth of Robert's betrayal. How are you, honey? I asked when he called that afternoon. Better. Dr. Morrison says I'm making progress. Dr. Morrison was his therapist. A woman in her 50s who specialized in family trauma. She'd been the one to help Marcus make his decision about Ethan. And Ethan? Good. He's walking now. Well, stumbling. He fell into the coffee table yesterday, got a bruise on his forehead. Marcus had kept him. Legally changed his own last name to Patterson. Same as me. Filed papers to establish himself as Ethan's father regardless of biology. I've been his dad since birth, he'd told the judge. That doesn't change because of DNA. Robert had visitation rights, every other weekend, supervised for the first 6 months. Marcus didn't trust him alone with Ethan, didn't trust him, period. Natalie was gone. She'd left Cleveland 2 weeks after Thanksgiving. moved back to Columbus where her parents lived. Marcus filed for divorce in December. She didn't contest it. Signed everything. Left with nothing but her clothes and her shame. She'd called me once. In January. 2 a.m. Drunk. "I'm sorry, Vivian. I never meant to hurt Marcus. But you meant to hurt me." Silence. Then, "You were just in the way." I'd hung up, blocked the number. I'd heard through Marcus that she was working as a receptionist again, living with her parents, posting inspirational quotes on social media about starting over and learning from mistakes. She had no custody rights. She'd signed them away, too ashamed to fight. Or maybe just tired of pretending to be a mother when she'd only ever wanted to be Robert's wife. Robert lived alone now in our old house, the house I'd cleaned for 32 years. He'd offered to sell it, split the proceeds. I'd said no. "You keep it. Live with your choices." Marcus said he looked older now. Gray. Thin. He'd retired early from the insurance company. Medical reasons, they'd announced. But everyone knew. Diana had made sure of that. She'd sent anonymous emails to the entire company. Robert's affair with the young receptionist, the baby, the betrayal of his own son. His reputation was destroyed. His marriage was over. His son wouldn't speak to him except about Ethan's schedule. And every other weekend he got 2 days with the grandson who should have been his son, supervised by a court-appointed monitor who documented everything. That was the revenge I'd wanted. Not violence, not drama, just truth. Just consequences. I finished signing the papers and handed them to Jennifer. "What happens now?" "These get filed. In 30 days, your divorce is final. You're free. Free." I'd been married since I was 23. For 40 years, I'd been Robert's wife, Robert's partner, Robert's fool. Now I was just Vivian. I drove to Holy Cross Cemetery after leaving Jennifer's office. Mama's grave looked the same. I placed fresh flowers at the headstone. "I left him, Mama, like you told me to if he ever betrayed me. Took me 40 years, but I finally listened." The wind rustled through the bare trees. April in Cleveland. Still cold, but spring was coming. My phone buzzed. "Marcus. Mom, can you come over? Ethan wants to show you something." I drove to Marcus's new place. A small house in Lakewood. 3 bedrooms, fenced yard. He'd bought it with the settlement money from Natalie. Started over completely. Ethan met me at the door. 16 months old, walking steadily now. He had Robert's eyes, but when he smiled, I saw Marcus. The man who'd raised him, loved him, chosen him. "Gamma." He threw his arms around my legs. "Hi, sweet boy." Marcus appeared behind him. He looked healthier than he had at Thanksgiving. Color in his face. Weight back on. The therapy was working. "Show Grandma what you learned," Marcus said. Ethan toddled to his toy box, pulled out a book, brought it to me. "Read?" I sat on the floor and pulled him into my lap. The book was about a family of bears. Mama bear, Papa bear, baby bear. Simple, innocent. Ethan pointed at Papa bear. "Dada." "That's right, Dada." He didn't point at Grandpa bear. There was no grandpa in this book. We'd chosen it carefully. After the story, Marcus made coffee. We sat at his kitchen table while Ethan played with blocks. "Dad called yesterday," Marcus said. "Wants to take Ethan to the zoo next month. His supervised visits end next week." "What did you say?" I said I'd think about it. He stared into his coffee. "Dr. Morrison says I need to decide if I want Ethan to have a relationship with Robert or not. That it's my choice. He's my son legally now." "What do you want?" "I want my dad back. The one I thought I had. The one who taught me to ride a bike and helped with homework and came to my baseball games. But that dad never existed. He was always this person. I just didn't know it." I reached across the table and took his hand. "You're a better father than Robert ever was. Ethan's lucky to have you." Some days I look at him and I see Dad. The eyes, the nose. And I wonder if I'm doing the right thing. If I should just let Robert take him. "Do you want to let him go?" "No. God, no. He's my son. I don't care what the DNA says." "Then you're doing the right thing." We sat in silence. Ethan stacked blocks, knocked them down, laughed at the crash. "You seem happy, Mom." Lighter. "I am. Is that wrong? Should I feel guilty? For leaving a man who betrayed you for 3 years? No, you should feel free. Free." That word again. I left Marcus's house at sunset. drove through Cleveland as the streetlights came on, past the library where I used to volunteer, past St. Michael's where Ethan was baptized, past the house on Lakewood where I'd lived for 32 years. Robert's car was in the driveway, lights on in the living room. I wondered if he was alone, if he regretted it, if he understood what he'd lost. I didn't stop, didn't slow down, just drove past. My apartment was quiet when I got home. I made tea, sat by the window. Below me, people walked dogs, couples held hands, normal life. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. My heart jumped. More threats? I opened the message. Hi, Vivian. It's Diana. Just wanted to check on you. I heard the divorce was final. I hope you're doing okay. I smiled, typed back. I'm doing better than okay. Thank you for everything. You deserve to know the truth. Everyone does. I set down the phone and looked around my apartment. Small, simple, mine. On the wall, I'd hung 3 photos. One of Marcus as a baby. One of Marcus and Ethan at the park. One of me and Mama from when I was 10 years old. No photos of Robert. No wedding pictures. No evidence that I'd spent 40 years loving a man who'd never loved me back. The next morning, I started volunteering again. Different library, different branch, new name tag. Vivian Patterson. The head librarian was a woman my age named Carol. She had kind eyes and a firm handshake. Welcome to the team. Have you worked in libraries before? A long time ago. I'm starting over. She smiled. Good for you. It's never too late to start over. I spent the day shelving books and helping patrons find what they needed. Simple work. Honest work. At 5 o'clock, Carol asked if I wanted to join the staff for dinner. We go out once a month. Nothing fancy. Just pizza and conversation. I almost said no. Old habits. Robert never liked me going out without him. Too busy. Too much trouble. But Robert was gone now. I'd love to. We went to a place on Coventry. 7 women, ages ranging from 30 to 70. They talked about books and politics and their families. Normal conversations. No one asked about my divorce. No one pried. At one point, Carol leaned over. You're glowing. I can't explain it. You just look happy. I was happy. For the first time in years, maybe decades, I was genuinely happy. The summer brought changes. Marcus started dating someone. A teacher named Beth who taught 2nd grade. She was kind to Ethan. Patient with Marcus. She knew the whole story. Didn't judge. I like her, Mom, Marcus told me over Sunday dinner. She's real. No games. No secrets. Then hold on to her. Robert showed up at my apartment once. June. Hot evening. I was watering my small balcony garden when the buzzer rang. Vivian? It's me. Can we talk? I almost didn't answer. Almost pretended I wasn't home. But I was done hiding. I buzzed him up. He looked terrible. Older than 65. Gray. Defeated. He stood in my doorway like a stranger. The apartment looks nice. What do you want, Robert? To apologize. Really apologize. Not the garbage I said before. I was wrong. I destroyed everything. I know that now. Okay. Okay? That's it? What do you want me to say? That I forgive you? I don't. That I understand? I don't. You made your choices. Now you live with them. I miss you. I miss Marcus. I miss my life. You should have thought about that before you slept with our daughter-in-law. He flinched. I know. I was selfish. Stupid. I threw away everything that mattered. Yes, you did. We stood there. The man I'd loved for 40 years. The man who'd destroyed me. He looked small now. Powerless. Pathetic. Marcus says he might let me see Ethan unsupervised soon. That's his decision, not mine. Do you think I'm a monster? I considered the question, thought about the hotels, the lies, the baby, the years of betrayal. I think you're a man who chose comfort over integrity, who chose pleasure over family. I don't think you're a monster. I think you're weak. He nodded slowly. You're right. I am weak. Goodbye, Robert. Viv, goodbye. I closed the door, locked it, stood there until I heard his footsteps fade down the hall. Then I went back to my balcony, to my tomatoes and herbs, to my small, quiet, honest life. Marcus called that night. Dad said he saw you. He did. How was it? Final. Good. You deserve finality. You deserve peace. Peace. I had that now. Not happiness every moment, not perfect contentment, but peace. The peace that comes from knowing the truth, from standing up for yourself, from refusing to let betrayal win. 1 year after the baptism, I went to St. Michael's, not for service, just to sit. Father O'Brien found me in a back pew. Vivian, good to see you. Hello, Father. I heard about the divorce. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was necessary. He sat beside me. I've been thinking about that baptism, about Natalie's toast. I should have seen something was wrong. Should have said something. You couldn't have known. Maybe. But I knew Robert, knew the family. Something felt off that day. I ignored my instincts. We all did, Father. We all wanted to believe the lie was real. He nodded. How's Marcus? Healing. He's a good father to Ethan. And you? I'm free. Father O'Brien smiled. That's the best outcome of all. I left the church feeling lighter, the rosary in my pocket, Mama's voice in my head. Her faith never wavered. Mine had wavered, broken, shattered, but I'd built something new from the pieces. Not faith in people, not faith in marriage, just faith in truth, in consequences, in the idea that lies eventually collapse under their own weight. Robert lost everything. Natalie lost everything. And I found myself. That was the revenge. That was the victory. Not their destruction. My liberation. I walked home through Cleveland in the late afternoon sun, past families and couples and people living their lives. I was 64 years old, starting over, building something real. And for the first time in 40 years, I was exactly who I wanted to be. Just Vivian, finally free.